Hello, in this video we're going to see how to take a list as an input in Python. So this is the first thing you do. First thing you do is define an empty list. Let's call it list. And to define an empty list, you have to put open and close square brackets, not curly brackets, square brackets. So this will create an empty list. And then to take a list as an input, you have to use the for loop. So you have to say for x in range. We've learned this before. If not, take a look at the for loop video. And in the range here, you give the size of the list. So let's do a list of size 3. After this, you put a colon and enter. And then inside the for loop, you define the elements of the list and you call those k or any alphabet you want. And you say k equals, and you take it as an input from the user. So you say enter the list values, or okay, and then what you have to do is whatever the user enters in k, you have to add it to the list. So you say list dot, if you remember, we have learned append. So list dot append, and in here you say put the k. So what happens is the for loop runs, it asks for the input, and whatever input the user gives, it gets added to the list. Then we can just check if we're getting the list. So you print the list just to check if we're getting the list as needed. So let's run this and check. Let's clear this just to be clear. And let's run this. Okay, so it's telling you to enter the list values. So now remember, input always takes string as default. So let's give strings. So let's say A. Now it's going to ask you 3 times because the range is 3. So let's say B and C. So now it's taken all the values of the list. Then what it will do is it will put these values in the list using the append. So if I press enter, it should print ABC as a list. So look at that. So this is how you will take list as an input from a user. The other thing you can do is you can also ask the user for the size of the list. So you don't have to say 3 here. What you can say is let n be an integer input. You can say enter the size of the list. Size of the list. So what this will do first is it will ask the size of the list, and whatever the user enters. Let me see if I'm recording and the volume is on. Yeah, the volume is on. Am I recording? Yeah. And so instead of 3 here, you write down whatever size the user enters. And then everything can remain the same. And you can try and run this again. So look at here. First, let's clear this and do it again. So if I run this again, look at this. The first thing it is asking is the size of the list. So over here, you give a number because it should be an integer. Let's do 4. Then if I run this, it's asking you the values of the list. So once again, you say A, B. Now this time you have to do it 4 times because N is 4. Let's say C and T. Now if I press enter, the entire list should print out. So look at that. A, B, C, D is the output. Okay, if you want this to be an integer, you can also make this an int. And or float as you need, right? And then run the whole thing, and instead of A, B, C, D, you'll enter 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, any questions, put in the chat. Hopefully this should help. And I'm going to stop recording.